Wow, you will not believe Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Sergey Kovalev official numbers per the Nevada State Athletic Commission. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chat channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for ESPN Plus below using my link. It does help the channel. Now, very bad news for Canelo. It's not surprising news to me, but maybe to some who don't believe in new media, don't believe in some of the things that I preach and say and believe on my channel. But another one we got right. I told you Canelo's star power in recent memory for, I think, a variety of different reasons. Since he's joined DAZN, his star power has dwindled. Like, he's still popular. People know who he is and things like that. He's making great money. But overall, his events just overall seem smaller since he's been with DAZN for a variety of different reasons. Not just the platform, but personal decisions he's made with his career, franchise champion, getting stripped instead of fighting Deryevchenko, you know, things like that. Among other things, you know, just maybe the way he acts. People might even have a bad taste in their mouth from 2 Golovkin fights. Just a variety of different things. Avoidance of Demetrius Andrade to Charlo, not really seeming to want to fight certain guys, things like that. But if the people who did not believe me, if this is not confirmation of Canelo's star power, you know, being stagnated since he's joined DAZN as opposed to when he was with Showtime and HBO, definitely, then I don't know what is. These are the live gate tallies from Canelo Kovalev, which is per the Nevada State Athletic Commission, meaning the commission, these are the official paperwork that were submitted, presented to Jake Donovan, who's a boxing writer and reporter for a major boxing website, right? And he got the information from the state. So, you know, for, I don't know, record keeping and tax purposes and just different things like that, they got to know, like, you know, the registered tallies and the bill of sale type shit. So it says live gate receipts for Canelo Kovalev per Nevada State Athletic Commission. So to suggest that these are inaccurate, you would have to denounce not only the reporter, but the source. This is coming from the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So if there's any kind of discrepancy that of like false reporting, which I don't believe, because we've seen similar things happen with like Tyson Fury, where Tyson Fury, he was fighting Otto Violin and they announced a certain number with Top Rank. And when the number actually came out, it looked a lot smaller. So I don't know what they tally, if they tally like employees working concession stands and stuff like that. But either way, here goes nothing. Canelo versus Kovalev per the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Gate, he did 8,173,000 and change. So we'll just say 8.1, right? Sold, this is important, 10,005 tickets. 10,005. They comped. Comps are people who were like, you know, one free tickets or just given tickets, like maybe celebrity or somebody. So the announced crowd that they had was 14,490. So this number is obviously not, that's how much Golden Boy printed out and said this how many people were in our building or whatever. But you add these two numbers up, it doesn't equal that. So Canelo basically sold barely over 10,000 tickets. Now for Canelo's standard, that is, you know, the face of boxing. Let me show you guys. The MGM holds 16,800. So we've seen it definitely wasn't a sellout. And once again, new media prevails, show receipts. Canelo fought Rocky Fielding in Madison Square Garden, and they said it was a sellout. that building, as you guys can see, holds more people, 20,789. MGM Grand Garden Arena holds a fraction of that, less than that, 16.8, and he sold 10,000 tickets basically. So everything I said is looking spot on. Canelo's star power is fading. And I think just in boxing in general, part of it, like, there's no one man above the crew. And part of it is your dance partner. I think fans are growing tired. We've seen some great fights this year. A lot of them have been unifications or unified fighters. Like J-Rock was a mandatory for Hurd, and Hurd was a unified champion. Unifications, Maurice Hooker, Jose Ramirez, Errol Spence, Sean Porter, Regis Prograis, Josh Taylor, Artur Beterbiev, Alexander Vodstick. And I think fans are growing tired of the charades and the games and the A-siding and the arguing. They just want to see good fights. So not a good sign for Canelo, who previously was billed as the money man. And I told you, since Canelo has been on DAZN, his star power was minimized and stagnated. And DAZN, their plan seems to have backfired in the sense of they came out heavy, like bashing the competition, saying pay-per-view is dead, and we got a new platform, we're the Netflix of boxing. But they haven't alleviated pay-per-views. We still get pay-per-views. In fact, Wilder versus Ortiz, which was on regular Showtime last year, is now a pay-per-view for the rematch. Errol Spence, who had previously fought on Showtime and stuff with PBC, his last two fights with Mikey Garcia and Sean Porter now were pay-per-view. So UFC, they just had the BMF Rock presented belt for Jorge Masvidal UFC, which Canelo Kovalev stood down for and bowed their head and acknowledged the bigger fight of the night. And that was a pay-per-view for the UFC. So we still have pay-per-views, but what in the world of boxing, what DAZN has done with this business model is they pigeonholed themselves, which I told you. Now, if DAZN raises their price again to $24.99, $29.99, your price point is going to be a lot higher than any other service that's remotely similar. ESPN is charging $4.99 a month, at the moment. Netflix is about $13.99. Hulu's about, $10.99, $12.99. You have Disney Plus coming, and I think it's going to be $6.99, $7.99, somewhere around there. So DAZN is already like doubled their original price coming out of the gates. It was $9.99, and then they doubled it by 100% to $19.99. So now it's $20 a pop. So if they raise it again, the more they raise it, the closer it is in line with actually supporting and buying pay-per-views. So they've kind of trapped themselves, especially with these trendy commercials that they were trying to come out with about pay-per-view being dead. And just basic math, I don't have to get too far into the accounting. It's not my money to lose. But from a boxing fan, this doesn't look sustainable. First of all, like I told you from the beginning, putting Canelo versus Kovalev, a fight nobody really asked for in the world of boxing, on against the BMF UFC 244 with Nate Diaz and Masvidal. I told you that was the bigger fight. And DAZN didn't believe it was the bigger fight. Joe Markowski, the DAZN exec, he has a video that you can find on YouTube where he says, there's not really much of a crossover audience. This is all true. He says not much of a crossover audience, so it's not going to really affect our numbers. But then yet and still, come time for the fight, guess what? When the fight came, they had Sergey Kovalev post this. Attention, fight fans, for tonight's Canelo Kovalev fight on DAZN, we have agreed to start after the end of UFC 244 Diaz Masvidal, so you can enjoy all of Saturday's fight. There was no agreement. The only agreement might have been between Golden Boy, Canelo's team, and Kovalev's team, but the UFC didn't care what you were doing. So that was very embarrassing for boxing. And then now this is embarrassing for Canelo. He's supposed to be the face of boxing. You bow down to UFC 244, and just to put this in perspective, that his money is shrinking. Kovalev let the Reynosos and Canelo tell it. This was supposed to be this huge career-defining legacy fight, huge crusher, you know, gamble. But obviously people didn't take it as that, because it seems to me that it would have done better. In fact, the Jacobs fight, and it's so funny because when it comes to African-American fighters, black fighters in America, you constantly see a lot of times Canelo fans. They'll say stuff like, Canelo, why should he fight a black fighter in Jamal Charlo? Why should he fight Demetrius Andrade? Those guys can't sell. But the funny thing is, when Canelo stayed put at middleweight against Jacobs, Cinco de Mayo weekend, he did better. The live gate was higher and more tickets were sold for Canelo Jacobs unification than this alleged dangerous fight with Canelo Kovalev, a Russian fighter, right? So explain that. So you mean to tell me that Canelo versus Andrade or Canelo versus Charlo doesn't stand a chance to do better, especially if you market it right, promote it right, put it in like the right spot? Like Andrade is from the East Coast. He's from Boston or Rhode Island or wherever. So put it in New York maybe, or Texas has a lot of Hispanic fans. Charlos are from Texas and Houston. Maybe do it at AT&T Stadium. You don't think a fight like that would trump Canelo Kovalev? So once again, as you guys can see, old media, all their excuses and delays and stuff is coming back to haunt them. They said Canelo chose Kovalev as opposed to Beterbiev and Caleb Smith and definitely black fighters like Charlo and Andrade, because nobody knows these guys or what have they done. But we all know what Kovalev has done, and we know where he was in his career. And Canelo sold 10,000 tickets, 10,005, and they comped out more than 1,500 tickets. Since when have they had to comp that many tickets? That's 1,643. So the seats, when the cameras are showing the seats, so there's not gaping holes and empty holes and rows and stuff. That's how many people got free tickets or comp tickets or celebrities or whatever to make it look more filled out. That's a decent amount of tickets that were comped for a Canelo fight. 1,643. Just to put this in further perspective, Canelo did a gate of 8.1 million, and he sold 10,000. Canelo, his live gate when he fought at the T-Mobile Arena and opened that arena for the first boxing fight, he did 7.4 versus an Amir Khan. Now, here's the difference. Nevada State Athletic Commission says the fight sold 13,000 tickets. So he sold a few more tickets, but the big kicker is this. So the live gate was pretty close, 7.4 million. And that's for Khan, a guy we knew Canelo was going to beat. In Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena, he sold more tickets, but the gate was just a tad bit smaller. You know, again, 8.1 he did with Kovalev. Kovalev is supposed to be the super dangerous fight. You know, this is supposed to be crusher, and Canelo has everything to lose. Amir Khan, most people knew the outcome. I remember I even did a 7 reasons Canelo versus Khan should not happen, right? See, it again, new media, we're everywhere. 7 reasons. Let's see if it'll come up here. 7 reasons Canelo versus Khan should not happen, February 3rd, 2016. Once again, I told you that fight shouldn't happen because we already knew what the outcome was going to be. Canelo was just far too big. Amir Khan, a lot of people believe he has chin issues, things of that sort. So the biggest kicker in the caveat here that I'm getting at is you have the Kovalev fight generating 8.1 million and Canelo Khan generating 7.4 million. But the difference being is there's no pay-per-view on DAZN versus when Canelo fought Amir Khan, however many pay-per-views it sold, they sold at, let's say, $75, $85 a pop. Let's see if I can pull it up. Okay, so this was an HBO pay-per-view. I covered this fight, right? So you tell me how this is sustainable for DAZN. Look, it says it got 600 pay-per-view buys. The fight drew a replay audience of 1 million. So this is how HBO can, when HBO was doing Canelo's career. The fight produced 7.4 live gate, 13,000 tickets. It says on pay-per-view, the fight sold an estimated 600,000 buys. So 600, let's just do some simple math. I got the calculator brought up. And then they did a re-air of the fight, you know, non-pay-per-view a week later, and it did another million. So it says it gave it a total of 1.6 million viewers. But the first batch, the 600,000, were paying viewers. So let's say 600,000. This is why what DAZN is doing seems to be a bit flawed. 600,000. They said it did close to that. Let's say it would cost $75 per each pay-per-view. That's $45 million. Plus you have the live gate that did 7, whatever it was. What was it? 7.4, right? Well, I did that wrong. But anyway, you have basically, actually, let's do it right there. I'll do it right. 45 million on pay-per-view buys because they still did pay-per-view on HBO. So that's about $53 million, whatever, 52 million. Right? Plus the million that they did the next week. However, DAZN doesn't do pay-per-view. So this fight, they haven't released the viewership, which leads me to believe Canelo Kovalev did in terms of the live gate and everything. And it was a summer fight, Canelo Jacobs. Canelo Jacobs beat Canelo Kovalev live gate. We do know that because, again, the information was submitted with the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So Canelo Jacobs did a better gate. Plus, they released the number. They said it did 600,000 concurrent views for Canelo Jacobs. It's been almost a week, and we haven't heard the numbers from DAZN. Look, I even tweeted them. We're getting to the bottom of this. November 6th, I tweeted DAZN. Why won't DAZN release Canelo versus Kovalev viewership numbers if they receive such a huge spike surge in subscribers by waiting for UFC 244 to conclude? If it was so worth it, where are those numbers? This is getting embarrassing. New media, right? And Eagles Army said, don't hold your breath. Right? So, once again, somebody explain how this makes sense. No numbers came out for Canelo Kovalev. Physically, we could see from the paperwork file that Canelo Jacobs sold just a bit more live gate wise and sold more tickets than Canelo Kovalev. And let's say, even though they haven't released numbers, DAZN costs $19.99 a month, possibly $9.99 a month. So there's a variance there. But let's say they did 1 million views, right? I'll do it like this. Let's say they did 1 million. That should be 1 million, right? Let's hypothetically, since they haven't released numbers, times $19.99. And that's the max price point you would pay on DAZN. What is that? How much money is that? You would have 19 million. You have $19 million. $19 million. Let me show you again, because I think I might have put it. Oh, hold on. I just want you guys to see what I'm talking about. Let me delete this. So $1 million. I'm just guessing the viewership since DAZN hasn't released it, times $19.99 a piece. So you would have under $20 million. Now, once again, they said Canelo, salary-wise, made $35 million. Canelo banks 35 million for light heavyweight fight. And they said it says 12 million for Kovalev. That's 47. Look, Canelo versus Kovalev purses 35 million, Kovalev 3 million, but if you read the rest of it, it says 12 million. You know, some kind of way. He's going to guarantee 7 million more. That's what it says. And that's what was being reported. So again, that's $47 million just to your main card that you had waiting for UFC 244. Like this to me, this is not really adding up how that could work and be sustainable. You're paying Kovalev, the B side of this promotion, $4 million more than what your live gate did. Then on top of that, Canelo is getting 35 million and there's no pay-per-view market. I don't see this business model, how it's going to be self-sustaining at this price point. Again, you're giving, you generated $8.1 million, but you're giving Kovalev 12 million. All right. In addition, Kovalev looked bad. I personally don't even need to see it. He can retire the way he looked. He got stopped by a smaller man with 2 or 3 punches in a fight he was winning. So DAZN is keeping him on the roster on DAZN for 2 or 3 more fights. So they're going to keep paying him for that. And you're paying Kovalev by himself more money. He get more money than what the live gate did with no pay-per-view. And then on top of that, you're giving this astronomical amount to Canelo. I don't know. I just don't see how that's really even sustainable. But those are the numbers. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys could think of some better math or something that I'm not doing of how this could be beneficial. And I understand this is just like a blanket covering of the basic stuff. I understand there's different sponsors that may work with somebody or whatever. Like DAZN got Patron Pizza, so I don't know how much that deal is worth. So there's little things like that, but it's still, the numbers still seem way off for what it was provided. Boxing looked bad waiting for UFC 244. You're paying the B side more than the live gate did. There's no pay-per-view to see. The thing, this is why pay-per-view model still is applicable and it still matters in boxing and in the UFC, is because if it's a good fight, it's a good fight, and you're relying on a higher price point, you know, $75 or whatever, $80, $100 if it's a Floyd fight. You're relying on a much heftier price point, and you're asking the public to get involved. You're asking the public to say, hey, if you want to see Mayweather McGregor, give us $100. So when they give you $100, 5 people give you $100. 5 people can give you $100. You have $500. But using DAZN's price point, $20 a pop, to get 500. Whoops, this calculator's weird. So using DAZN's, strategy to get that same $500 at this price point, you would need 25 people. So you see the big difference. You would need 5 times the amount of buyers just to make what you could get from fewer people. Once again, let me show you this math. This is just basic math. If you had 5 people pitch in and buy a $100 pay-per-view, you have $500. So 500 divided by the $20 price point that DAZN charges, and some people still pay $9.99, so that's not even accurate. But for the sake of argument, we'll say the $20 price point, you would need 25 people. 5 times 5 is 25. You would need 5 times the volume just to make that same 500, because you're charging a cheaper pipe. I mean, this is just common sense. So with these numbers and Canelo's star power like waning, I don't really see, and this could suggest why DAZN, if you go to their page, they're like really and truly advertising the crap out of Logan Paul. Look how many videos they're doing for like Logan Paul, and like, look, 1 day out, look, Logan Paul undercard, Logan Paul. So this could explain why they're all in with this fight. I didn't even see this for Canelo Kovalev, Regis Prograis, you know, Nonito Donaire Inouye. And look, it's just non-stop. These are a ton of Logan Paul, you know, posts and whatnot. So that might be why they're putting so many eggs in one basket, is because those two YouTubers are popular. So maybe they're trying to like, okay, we can use this and level up here, because the Canelo fight, to me, it looks like it pretty much flopped. He's downtrending. And the funny thing is, I used a Canelo Amir Khan example. Everyone knew what was going to happen to Khan, and it still did 7.4 million. It still had more sold tickets, you know. Plus, you had the pay-per-view aspect where people had to pay for it, so you got money from the pay-per-view back end. But if I were to put in, you know, I'll show you. Canelo versus Gennady Golovkin, right? A better fight. Gennady Golovkin. Viewers, pay-per-view buys, we'll use that. Canelo Alvarez rematch sold 1.1 million pay-per-view buys. So they charged you $80 and they sold over 1 million both times. Right? So higher price point, and you did higher buys or viewership, most likely. DAZN refuses to release their numbers. So if, just conventional wisdom, if Canelo versus Kovalev did better than Canelo Jacobs, why wouldn't they release the number? If Canelo versus Kovalev did better than Canelo Jacobs, why did Canelo Jacobs have a higher gate? And you got to look at the time of the year it took place. Summertime versus, you know, a couple week ago or whatever. So anyway, I don't see how this is sustainable, and it just goes to show you where boxing is at. And I told you, DAZN has opened the floodgate for other people to become pay-per-view stars. And I do think people are growing tired with the antics with Canelo, you know, picking and choosing who he wants to fight and these strategies, things I've said, things Nacho Beristain, Juan Manuel Marquez, Eric Morales, Julio Cesar Chavez has said. People are growing into it. So their interest is going elsewhere. UFC 244, Errol Spence, Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, Andy Ruiz. They're starting to check for other stuff, and Canelo's not looking like the man anymore. You know, his weigh-in looked really sparse. And it looked a lot lighter than we've seen for other Canelo weigh-ins, like Canelo Chavez Jr. So I think Canelo is going to be up against it. And the only unfortunate thing is, rumor has it that Gennady Golovkin is going to fight Camille Sesmeta, and DAZN promised in 2020 to get Canelo versus Triple G3. But the problem with that fight, the trilogy, is look at how much has changed since then. I don't think that's as big of a fight as they're banking on, because Triple G, truth be told, he should have lost to Sergey Derevyanchenko. So for him to fight Steve Rolls and then fight a better name and then really have his worst performance, I thought Derevyanchenko did better than Jacobs and Canelo, you know, in one night. And it could be part of it could be because Jacobs exposed little things and Canelo exposed little things. So by the time Derevyanchenko got him, you know, he was able to have a really solid game plan. But I think a lot of people agree with me that Triple G didn't look good in that fight. I know Canelo agrees with me because he said it. He said Golovkin looked slow. I set the blueprint, and Derevyanchenko definitely won. So why would I want to see Canelo versus Triple G3? So DAZN's going to have to start asking some tough questions and maybe even restructure their boxing programming, because this doesn't look sustainable. You know, you're bound down to UFC 244. Canelo's not drawing the audience you expect. Like, how does Canelo, when he was with HBO, and that's why we got to give a credit to HBO, he was charging a higher price point than it cost for DAZN, right? And he was also doing more views. His fight with Danny Jacobs did 600,000 concurrent, and you can use DAZN on 3 different devices simultaneously. So I doubt that was the real number. It was probably under that, because some people used one account for multiple devices. But Canelo versus Cotto did 900,000. So at a pay-per-view price point. Canelo versus Chavez did over 1 million at a pay-per-view price point. You know, so this is what I've been saying from the beginning. and old media has some explaining to do. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. We work. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.